Thank you all for coming in for a financial consultation provided by FreedomClubUSA.com.
Thanks, Mary, for inviting us to this free seminar. We've all been through a very rough financial time. I'm about to lose my home after 25 years.
We too have come upon difficult times even in the entertainment industry. We've had multiple homes and lived quite well for years, and now we're about to lose it all.
I can't believe this is happening to us, our friends and families. We've worked so hard to provide ourselves and children a good education and a piece of the American dream.
All of you and millions of other hard-working individuals in the US and Canada have been looking for a solution to these hard times, and I will show you a most impressive solution at the end of our discussion. But first, let's find out how the most prosperous, secure and well-educated society following World War II has started coming apart at the seams.
How could this happen to so many hardworking individuals?
Let's begin with the history of the United States. Many similar events were happening worldwide in other countries. The early colonies were enjoying their break from the king's control and created their own barter system among themselves, using a simple script without gold backing. This was so successful, the king feared the loss of control and ordered all goods from England be paid by gold. This was the real spark that ignited the Revolutionary War with the British.
Tell us more.
Following the Revolutionary War, the U.S. government was deeply in debt and declared its first bankruptcy.
Our first bankruptcy? You mean, there were more?
Yes, this was the first of 3 more to come. The entire history of our country revolves around a new bankruptcy each 70 years. The banksters now controlled the U.S. government with debt, but the states and the individuals were still sovereign.
So, even though we won the war, it appears we did not gain our financial freedom.
Correct. This was only the first step to taking total control of the United States. Since the 70 years of the bankruptcy was nearing an end, it meant the U.S. had to come out of bankruptcy and out of debt in the bankers' control, or continue with another refiling.
What happened next? Did we begin another 70 years of bankruptcy?
Unfortunately, yes. As we neared the end of the next controlling period, the British threatened to move their shipping to the southern states. That would have been devastating to the industrialized North. This division of the North and South was further fueled by the British arming the South with guns and weapons of war.
So, the plan was to begin yet another war, to add even more debt, to assure the U.S. would continue into another bankruptcy, and continued control by the banksters. Right?
And this would mean even more control would be demanded by the bankers.
Yes, you are indeed starting to understand how this game was played out. Indeed, this game of war cost the lives of tens of thousands of Americans to satisfy the greed and control of a handful of international bankers. In fact, Lincoln was shot because he chose to pay his troops in government-generated greenbacks rather than borrow more from the banks, and deepening the debt and control by the bankers.
You mean to say, this war was created and fought totally to keep our country in debt for the greed and control of the bankers?
Yes. To continue this control, and to further secure their debt, they required the states to pledge all their assets toward the second bankruptcy of the U.S. But something else, very important, happened. Following the turmoil of Lincoln's assassination, the original United States Constitution was replaced with a copy that was identical except for a few words. The United States now appeared in all capital letters. According to Black's Law, the legal Bible, any name that is capitalized designates it as a corporation. Thus, the sovereign United States was replaced with a corporation, called the United States of America, in all capital letters, as we see it today.
Owned corporations need to be registered.
Yes, the corporate United States was incorporated in England in 1871. So today, we have an English corporation, called the United States of America, and all the variations, such as the U.S., America and USA, posing as our sovereign government. The states followed suit in the same manner. Thus, Now we have empty seats in our sovereign government at the state and federal level, and instead we have corporations pretending to be our government.
Were not the flesh and blood individuals still sovereign following the Civil War?
Yes, they were. So yet another plan was hatched to totally control this country. In 1910 a very secret meeting was arranged with the world bankers and U.S. politicians on a then private island off the Georgia coast, called Jekyll Island. The plan needed to convince the skeptical Americans that this was not the return of central banking. They carefully chose the name, the Federal Reserve System. Even though our now corporate constitution, dictated as our sovereign constitution did, only our own government could coin and regulate our money, this banking cartel took control of our money just 3 years later.
Mary, are you saying we first lost our sovereign government, and now we lost control of our entire monetary system to these same banksters?
Yes, but just wait to see what happened just 20 years following the introduction of the banker-run Federal Reserve System.
What on earth are these banksters going to do now?
Following a planned World War I, putting the U.S. into deep debt, the bankers now provided easy cheap money to entice the population to borrow from them rather than save for their purchases. We call it the Roaring Twenties today. This was just a setup to pull the rug out from under the population with the upcoming fully planned stock market crash of 1929.
Did you say planned?
Yes. It was not the crash itself that created the problems for the working class. It was the bankers who severely tightened lending and called in loan after loan, shrinking the money supply to half what it was in just 4 years. Bring us to 1933. With less and less money for merchants to buy inventory and expand and hire, huge layoffs occurred. There were ready buyers and ready sellers, but without money to fuel the engine, the economy came nearly to a stop.
Why would the bankers do such a horrible thing? Putting people on the streets, homeless and hungry.
It was to put the stake into the heart of the only ones left with sovereign power, the people. Hungry, desperate people took a handout from the banker-controlled government and entered them into a contract with the New Deal.
A New Deal? It sounds more like a raw deal.
With Joint House Resolution 192, in 1933, they declared the third bankruptcy of the U.S. and did 3 important things to destroy your freedoms. 1. They demanded the still sovereigns turn in their gold for paper by executive order. Executive orders are not enforceable on sovereigns. However, hungry people do not ask the right questions. 2. They created Social Security, and by signing the application, they unknowingly became a citizen of the corporate U.S., giving up their sovereignty. And 3. The state took control of all birth certificates.
Wait just a minute. You mean these banksters intentionally created a boom, then a bust, putting our people on the street just to steal our sovereignty and our money?
It was even more than that. Now that you were part of the corporation, they also made you a corporation by printing your name in all capital letters. Remember how they did this with the sovereign government? Your all-capitalized name is fully in use today. Look at your driver's license, or your name on your personal checking account.
What was so important about controlling the birth certificates?
Remember, it's always about the money. In bankruptcy, there is no money. Recall, they stole all the people's real money, their gold, and replaced it with a note, just an IOU, with the promise it could be redeemed later. So, today your money is just an IOU or a Federal Reserve note as stated on your bills in your wallet. Please continue our discussion with part 2 of this meeting.